Hey, what do you know? This is the Melvin Live Show. How's everyone doing? And tonight, um, that's this thing that it's kind of in my head for a bit, and I just want to share with you what are some of the um, reactions that I get whenever I bring up this topic itself. So the topic is essentially strategic planning. Well, some people think that strategic planning it's only for big companies or companies that has got a budget that they do not know how to expand off, and what they want to do is they want to go to a hotel for a retreat, and you have consultants writing on flip chart asking you for ideas to throw out words, and then with that itself to discuss and go into breakout rooms and to come up with a strategic plan. Now, that may be the case with the way some consultants are facilitating and doing that, but that's definitely not my style. So, today I want to share with you, if you are a one person business, what exactly you have to do with regards to strategic planning itself. Now, for starters, if you are one of those people who think that what is strategic planning? I mean, it is bullshit, right? And it is not something that that for a one person business I need to do it because I'm agile and I'm flexible and I'm able to respond to what's happening around the world, and I will just wing it, right? If you fall in the category, then obviously I'm not here to convince you. You have every right to think the way you think. Now, for the rest of you who want to find out what exactly you need to do for strategic planning as a one person business, this video is for you. So, right off the bat, one thing that I want to be clear about is what exactly is strategic planning. Now, the easiest way to think about strategic planning is actually the following. Think of there is a goal that you want to achieve, and this is where you are. And so, in order for you to reach your goal, you must take a series of steps to achieve that. Now, this series of steps are the things that you must do in order to achieve your goal. So, in order to know why you're doing it, what you are doing, and how you are doing, this is where strategic plan comes into play. Now, so at the end of the day, when you think about strategic planning, do not think about it as drawing pie chart, doing SWOT analysis and all that stuff. The fundamental thing about strategic planning it's just three words. And the three words are basically play to win. Now, when you are thinking about a business, and particularly as a one person, 1 million or digital business, what you really want to do is you want to be able to expand your resources and your energy and to be able to achieve full on the result that you want. So you're not here to play so that you can not lose or play so that you can possibly win. But what you want to do is you want to play to win. Now, in order to play to win, there are a few things that you need to ask yourself, right? And I reference this to this book by the same name, Play to Win. In that book, I just can't remember the author of the book itself. So essentially, the way to think about it, it's where do you want to play, right? And so to think about where you want to play, the core idea here is that you want to look at a few things. One, of course, you want to look at this demand, right? And demand comes from whether are people looking to solve a particular problem. And I love problems. The more painful the problems is, the better it is. Why? Because there is urgency and there is an absolute need to get rid of that pain itself. So I'm looking for pain points. I'm looking for problems that people want to solve. And if they cannot solve that problem, then obviously, they are going to be in a disadvantaged situation. So, where to play essentially looks at this demand, right? Is there a demand for a certain thing? So that's one aspect of it. Now, the other aspect of it is you also want to know, in terms of this demand, is there competition? Now, we like to think that, the lesser the competition, the better. In fact, what I like you to think is to think of it as the more competition, the better. In fact, the more players there is in this market, the better it is. Why? For a very simple reason. Number one, it validates that this market actually exists, which means there are people who are willing to pay for this problem to be solved. And there are also people offering such solutions. Now, so with many players in the market, it would mean that the consumer or the customer could potentially be confused. In other words, they are confused in the sense that I do not know whether to choose A, B, or C. And they may be, inundated with all the messaging that's coming from A, B, and C, that they are confused, and a confused customer do not buy. And so it gives you the ability to devise a clear communication strategy to communicate directly and precisely to the prospect. And once they have that clarity, that's where they will draw to you. So, one aspect of it is to look at what the competition is doing and do something that the competition is not doing, right? So, for example, in my case, when I evaluate my competitors years ago when I started my consulting business, one of the things that the consultants would not do was to offer a free audit of their current system, right? They wouldn't. It's just unthinkable because why would they want to do that? Because they could walk into the organization, present their case, and have the organization appoint them as the consultant itself. They do not need to do a free audit. But we know that if we are able to offer a free audit for the client, then potentially what it's possible is that the client would then be able to trust you and to know you and to like you. And so first is the demand, second is the competition. Now, of course, you want to look at competition and you want to be able to see whether the competition is intense or not, right? And so in the online space, there is a way to find out if there is intense competition. Now, of course, then once you know that there is demand and there is competition, and competition is not too intense, the next part that you really want to consider is what is your positioning. So for example, if you look at if you look at companies like Walmart, for example, right? Walmart, it's positioning themselves as the great discount store, right? And so whenever, every day, any day you walk in, you will be able to find a good deal. That is what they are after. That is what they are positioned at. Target, on the other hand, is a little different. It's not everyday low prices, but it's able to enable you to find whatever you need at a slightly higher prices, but also probably offering slightly better quality. So the key idea behind that is that you want to find out where your positioning is going to be. Are you going to position yourself as a premium provider, or are you going to position yourself as the low cost provider? Whatever the case may be, the whole idea behind this is that you want to be able to find the right position. So this is the where to play part. Now, next, once you have determined that, right, and you have identified all that, the next thing that you want to go into, it's really to look at um, how to play, right? How to play. Now, how to play essentially it's very simple. There are three ways of looking at how to play. So the first way is that you provide a much better product than the competition, right? The much better product than the competition. So for example, if the competition is providing all these specs, you would provide all these specs and more, right? And so that's the way to kind of differentiate yourself. That is the way that you would want to be able to play in such a way that you provide a product that is way better than the competition. Now, another way to play would be, instead of providing a much better product, you provide a much better process. So when you talk about a better process itself, is that at the end of the day, you will still achieve your goal, but perhaps the process of using my services, or the process of using my product itself, it's going to get you there faster, right? So at the end of the day, you still achieve the same goal, but you're going to achieve it faster. So, for instance, if someone says that, well, do this exercise for 30 days and you will be able to lose weight, you might want to think of, well, you can lose this same amount of weight, but you can do it in just 7 days. So instead of the product, you look at the process. Now, the third way to really think about differentiating and how to play is essentially focusing on the experience. So it's probably you probably delivering the same thing. It's probably the same process itself, but the experience of going through it, it's going to be just unique and delightful. So think of it this way, right? Like an airline. At the end of the day, whether you take, a budget airline, or you take, a full-fledged airline, at the end of the day, it's still going to get you from point A to point B, right? The end goal is the same, right? The process of you going through that may, it's the same thing, right? Because you're going to fly through the same airspace itself. But the experience of going through, a budget versus a full-fledged airline is going to be different. So you differentiate based on that, right? So it can be the product, it can be the process, or it can be the experience. Now, so once you have identified, where to play, and you have decided how to play, the last thing you want to decide is what to play. Now, what to play is something that you will need to do quite a fair bit of analysis, and you have to do quite a fair bit of research yourself. And the best way that I've come across when it comes to what to play is really to play a lot of things, to be able to experiment with a lot of things, and then find out which one, do you do it best. So at the end of the day, what to play would determine fairly much on your resources, your capabilities, as well as your ability to make a profit itself, right? So at the intersection of all these three things, when you talk about where to play, how to play, and what to play, you will be able to find out whether it's there. It will be the intersection of what we call the desirability, the feasibility, as well as the viability. So if it's viable but it is not feasible, and there is no desire for that, then that's not going to work. On the other hand, if it's desirable but it's not feasible and it's not viable, it's not going to work either. So you need all three at the intersection of it. So once you have this intersection, this is where you are able to find out the goal, the sweet spot, All right. So strategic planning, like I said, I'm not here to convince you that you need strategic planning. You need strategic planning. It's just how are you doing it? So once again, if you're planning for 2021 and 2021 is just around the corner, I'm just glad 2020 is almost over. So when you're playing for 2021, make sure you consider where to play, how to play, and what to play. And with that, this is Melvin signing off here. And, if you got a question for me, make sure you leave it in the comments. And if you haven't already subscribed, why not? Go ahead, subscribe to my channel or wherever you're watching this from. Follow me or send me a connection request or follow me. And, you know, if this video has really opened up some light bulbs, light up some light bulbs for you, make sure you give me a thumbs up, right? And that's a great way for other people like you to discover this piece of content. I've been greatly encouraged by the last few days in terms of the views and the number of people who are watching. Once again, if you're watching right now, please leave a comment and say hi. I'll be more than happy to connect with you and to engage with you, right? And of course, if you have any question with regards to the setup or with regards to the way that I have been organizing and thinking through the whole process of doing a live show, um, leave me a comment as well and I will get to that. Once again, this is Melvin from the Melvin Live Show, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.